I feel grateful that I will be an alumna of a university that truly values its students enough to develop them as thinkers and leaders, and that is in part thanks to you.
This is Lisa Kopelnik, UVA's student representative on the Board of Visitors, who completes her term on June 1st. WUVA's Conwell sat down with Lisa Kopelnik to learn more about her experience.
Your term as the student representative with the Board of Visitors ends on June 1st. How was your experience?
I really enjoyed being able to represent students during this moment in UVA's history, and I've been really motivated by the quality of students that we have here, and that's sort of the main asset that you can provide the board is like this information and this full nuanced picture of what students are experiencing and humanizing students through the stories that you tell to the board and grounding them in the reality of student experiences. And so I really enjoyed doing that. These are people who have devoted their lives to service in one way or another and who do care about the university, and learning how to work with everybody regardless of our differences was really important for me.
What was your approach to trying to give a broad spectrum of opinions that students might have to the board to represent the student body fully?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they'll just straight up ask, like, what do you think about this? And the way that I approach the what do you think about this question is, I offer judgment, but the judgment that I offer is always rooted in, well, here's what these students think and here's what these students think, and sort of how do you provide all these different opinions and synthesize them and then ultimately make some sort of judgment. And I also think it's important for me to do the reverse, which is a lot of students don't understand the decisions that the board makes, and my job isn't always to justify those decisions or to rationalize them, but it is to explain them, and it's to explain how we got there. Because the board it's complicated. I didn't even understand this until I sort of was in the room seeing all the information, the risks, the benefits, the stakeholders, everyone who cares about every single issue. It's so vast. And it's sort of helping to explain to students, as somebody who was in the room when these decisions were made, and as somebody who's saying things and contributing to these decisions, sometimes, like, it's explaining to students, how did we get here?
While the student rep doesn't cast a vote, they act as a key bridge between students and the board, offering insight into student experiences, concerns, and perspectives. In recent years, the board's decisions have sparked growing attention across the university. From tuition increases to changes in university offices, students are paying closer attention than ever before. One decision that brought the board into the spotlight was a vote to dissolve UVA's Central Office for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in early 2025.
How do you feel about that decision?
Yeah, that decision, it was a difficult decision, and I think there's a lot that went into it. What I communicated in my role to them was that this is an issue that matters to students, and the way that we handle this and our commitment to diversity is an issue that really matters to students. And in terms of the decisions themselves, there's a responsibility to be compliant with the federal government. I fully understand that. But as I said in the remarks, I also think it's important to commit to the values that make UVA what it is. And I really do believe that having a diverse and having a multifaceted student body is one of them. And now we have to figure out, how do we make sure that students understand that that is a value that we still have as a university.
The decision sparked immediate backlash. Students and faculty voiced concerns over the impact on minority support services and inclusive programming. At UVA, that tension has sparked visible student action. From walkouts and protests on grounds to messages painted across the Beta Bridge, students have made their voices heard.
Yeah, and then you were recently quoted as saying that part of your job was to create a level of transparency, of trust between students and the board. Where do you think that level of trust is in April of 2025?
I think that the level of trust between students and the board, it varies, but I think that what I've heard, from a lot of students is that students are skeptical, students don't really understand, and I think that students are struggling a bit with some of the decisions that the board has made. When people are paying attention, when people really care about the decisions that the board is making, there's going to be varying levels of trust, and so, I don't think that trust is the highest that it's been. And I think that that's kind of reflecting, the very divisive times and, high stakes times that we're in as well.
One of your core beliefs with the board and just at the university as a person in student self-governance was civil discourse.
Yeah.
You mentioned the polarization happening currently nationally. What do you think needs to happen? I won't ask you nationally because that's too big of a question, but maybe here at UVA to encourage civil discourse over civil strife or those kinds of arguments?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the board, I think, like, to give the board credit, like, they really do care about this, and I think that they enact it in their personal lives and in their lives as board members. They try to meet with students, and I think that that's important. But I think that, you know, civil discourse is something that is the University of Virginia too. Like, it's been a part of our mission and our purpose for so long. This idea that to pursue the truth, you know, is the mission of this university, and how do you pursue the truth without having dialogue across differences or having conversations with people who think differently from you. And so,
But moments like these also point back to one of UVA's founding principles, student self-governance.
You mentioned it, but you're the former UJC chair, most recent student representative for the Board of Visitors. It's clear that student self-governance is important to you, and I was just curious, why do you think it's so critical for students to have responsibility and agency shaping this university?
yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the things that makes this place really unique, is that we have such power and such ability to actually make a difference here. The fact that students can have so much of a say in our mission, in our values, and how we implement the mission and values is a big deal, and I think that we need to take advantage of that, and that's what the system of student self-governance is for. I also think it's a part of our foundation. You know, this place was created to shape an informed citizenry and to be self-governed, and that's how it was envisioned, and so it's a really cool tradition and legacy to be a part of.
We as board members have
For
been
Lisa
honored to be
Kopelnik,
faithful stewards of this
student
nation
self-governance
for 2 more
isn't
centuries
just tradition.
of Virginia students
It's
who
a
have the
responsibility,
privilege of attending
and
UVA
one,
and
she
meeting
says,
people
she'll
that they
carry
never would have met
far
otherwise,
beyond her
whose
time at
lives are
UVA.
shaped by the different
I am Sam
perspectives and
Shibu,
life experiences they encounter.
WUVA.